Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Monday, October 17th. We are here live. It is a free-for-all. Anything goes today. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, we'll talk about it. Phone lines are already open. In fact, calls are already starting to come in. So I got up early today. It's part of what I was going to talk about. The protocol is starting to kick in and work. That's a really wonderful thing. And this time, I'm even seeing improvements in sleep in just a couple of weeks. And it seems like the missing part may have been the adaptogens. Like I said, I've tried adaptogens before. They just didn't work. But it was because I didn't know what I was doing. No different than all the other supplements. I used to say they didn't work till I knew what I was doing. The right supplements used the right way. That's the key. So the thing about adaptogens, and this really isn't my topic today, but I'm talking about it because I got up early. The key to adaptogens is knowing when to use them, what to use. And the problem was I tried to read about them. I couldn't find anything that made any sense. So that was why we brought Danielle in. She wrote the book on adaptogens just recently, and by far it's the best information out there. And I can already see the difference. Now, I also have her helping me. The book will walk you through doing some of this stuff yourself, but I have her helping me, which is even better. So she is working with me one-on-one, and I'm already starting to see some improvements. So my sleep in 2 weeks of this now this also, I've been doing the stress protocol, and I think the adaptogens are going to become part of this. I'm going to ask Danielle to work with me and see if we can figure out how to do that. But I think that's going to become a part of this stress protocol, because I do think they're powerful when you know how to use them. So anyway, this isn't a health show today. The point of it was I got up early today for the first time in a while. You know, I used to talk about I get up really early, spend a lot of time on show prep, reading the news, and then my sleep just kept getting worse and worse, and I was only getting my sleep really late in the morning. So I was getting up late for the show. I wasn't preparing very well. I don't know why I started preparing the night before, but that just doesn't work as well for me. So in just a couple of weeks, my average sleep has gone from about 4.5 hours a night to 6. It's a huge shift for me. Last night, I got over an hour of REM sleep. I haven't had that in months. Got a pretty decent amount of deep sleep last night. So feeling pretty good. Got up early this morning. Put a ton of notes together. There's a lot going on, and I have a theme I'm working on. I'm going to talk about that a little bit right now, and then I'm going to get to the calls. So if we end up with a lot of calls today, which would be wonderful, we're here live, call me. I may record the theme that I kind of worked on this morning. I'll give you an idea what it is. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now, but unfortunately, the topic and the theme is going to seem very political. It kind of is, but this is one time where I think everybody really needs to pay attention to this. You know, it's a shame that politics have become such a big part of our life. And I would much rather tell people, look, just ignore it. Just go on with your life. Except I think we're at a point, not just in our country either, this is worldwide, where we have to fight back. And it seems to me like there are a lot of people pushing an agenda, and they have a lot of time and a lot of money. And the people who probably don't agree with that agenda seem to be the ones that are working all the time and not paying attention to this. And I think that's how we got here. I think the people who would be against what I'm going to talk about are the ones who are out working and producing, and they're not paying attention to what's happening. So think about all the stuff that's happening politically right now, the whole school thing, the CRT, the gender issues, the trans issue, where the hell did those things come from? You know, I've been following politics for years, and I feel like I missed all that. I didn't know half this stuff was going on, this whole new woke culture. It's all through our military. I was shocked. How did that happen? Like I said, I think the people who produce, even somebody like me who pays attention to politics in this guy, I missed it completely. I had no idea half this stuff was going on. That's not the theme I want to talk about, though. It's just a part of what's happening, this massive shift in what we consider important and what we're putting our time into. But the one I really want to focus on, because it's the one that's going to be life-changing for all of us, and not in a good way. And we need to fight back against this. It's the whole climate change crap, the whole Green New Deal. I almost consider myself an environmentalist, a tree hugger even. I want a clean environment. I love being out in nature. I don't want to see pollution. I moved to where I live because it's such a clean environment here. It's one of the cleaner in the country, clean air, water, as much as you can, I guess. I love the outdoors. I don't want to ruin our environment. But what is happening right now has nothing to do with saving our environment. Nothing whatsoever. It's all bullshit. It really is. There's some other huge agenda here, and I think it's probably control. It's definitely money. There is huge amounts of money to be wasted. It's already being wasted in this, and a lot of people are going to get rich, but far more people are going to be the losers in this. Like I said, I am all for a clean environment. That's not what any of this is about. All of this could actually make our environment much worse than it already is. Electric vehicles, as much as I love them, people accuse me of pushing electric vehicles all the time. I don't push them. I just like that technology, so I talk about it a lot. But I've said it has nothing to do with the environment. Electric vehicles could destroy our environment if we're not careful. Solar and wind could have very negative impacts on our environment if we're not careful, and we're not, because this isn't about the environment. It's about money. And we can see it. And I can tie it into the industry. The whole Nikola issue, there's some things going on there. The solar issue that I recently started researching for myself, I was going to put solar in. Seems to make total sense. Except solar is such a mess right now. I'm afraid to buy anything or have any kind of solar installed because there's so much government money in there. Everybody looks corrupt right now. I hear nothing but complaints from people who have installed solar to get the tax credits. And that's one of the reasons I was going to do it. I could use some tax breaks. And they're pretty good for solar. But there's no way I'm going to go out and support a company that is really started just because of these tax breaks. And that's what's happening in solar right now. It's a mess. We're going to be giving, speaking of Nikola or Tesla or any of the electric truck manufacturers, we're going to be giving $40,000 tax credits per truck. Now, here's what I want people to understand, because I don't think they do. When they hear, oh, if you buy a electric truck, you're going to get a $40,000 tax credit. Well, let's think about what that really means. How much money did the manufacturer get for the truck when we buy it? They get full price. They get whatever they decide to charge for the truck. They're not giving up any of that $40,000. You don't get a discount on the truck. You pay full price for the truck. Then you get a $40,000 tax credit back. That means I'm paying for your tax credit. You're paying for everybody else's tax credit. That's the bullshit that we have to stop. We're rewarding these electric vehicle companies that one of them is a big scam. We know it. Was right from the start. I called it from the start. Trevor Milton was just convicted. 3 counts of fraud. This is what happens when we start getting the government involved in business. When there are tax credits, there's always fraud. Think back to the Obama years. So Solarna, is that the name of the company? Sounds right. Maybe not, though. There were several of them, though, during the Obama administration. Solar and wind companies that were just scams. They were just there to grab the government money. And that's what's happening now in vehicles and solar. They're just there to grab the big tax credits. We pay for that. The truck manufacturer gets every penny they want to sell the truck for, and we pay the $40,000. Do we have fleets out there with thousands of trucks? And they're going to get a $40,000 tax credit for every electric truck they buy, and we pay for it. Think about that. That's our competitor. And we're paying so our competitor can get new trucks. That's bullshit. Now, we could go buy the electric truck too, I guess, and get the credit, but then we're just part of the problem. We're all paying for that. And you know why we're paying for it? It was the last bill passed in Congress just recently. The Democrats pushed it through with no Republican support at all. Kamala Harris had to be the tiebreaker. That's why we're going to pay for this. That last big spending bill. There's an election coming up, a couple weeks. You need to think hard about that, really hard. Now, we can't solve this whole problem with one election, not even close. This is a big issue. It's going to require a big fight. And I don't even know how to do that other than to just keep talking about it. So maybe we come up with some sort of an answer. One election isn't going to do it, not even close. But you have to start somewhere. If there's anybody listening to me, or if you're listening to me and you know somebody who thinks this way, I'd love to hear it. Sorry, I just got a note there. I was looking at it. We have to fight this. If you look at what's happening, this push for the Green New Deal, 100% Democratic. This is almost no Republican support whatsoever. Certainly has no Libertarian support whatsoever. If anybody agrees with this, I'd love to hear it. I would love to talk to somebody that says, no, this is exactly what we need to do right now, and this is how we need to do it. I'd love to hear your thought process, anybody. Because honestly, I can't find anybody who will admit that they agree with this. Or if they do, and you ask them for details, they have none. They have none. All you get are the same sound bites you might get on the TV. Oh, we're all going to die. The water's going to dry up. In some places, the water's going to dry up. In the other places, we're going to be underwater. But you know what? None of that's happening. Is the climate changing? Of course it is. Will there be negative consequences? Absolutely. Are we the ones causing it? Probably. How could we not? But I don't think we're smart enough to know how to fix it yet. And the last thing we should be doing is running off spending trillions of dollars to try to fix it and screwing up our life in the process. But that's where we are. All right. Let me see. Before I get too deep into this, I am going to go to the calls because they're starting to pile up already. I will probably either do this as an episode of The Pit, or I'll just do a Just a special episode and record this because I have a lot. I have a lot around trucking, and I actually have a lot around food. There's a big push around food right now that we need to be very, very careful of. Again, I could probably spend the entire hour at least talking about this, but this is live. We've got calls, so I'm going to go to them. I'll record this stuff, or we'll do it as an episode of The Pit. So let's get to the calls. Let's go to New York. Brian, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to say I have 100% faith in my mail-in vote, but if you're not going to make a point to, if you're not going to really make sure you are at home and off to vote, which I'm not willing to give up servicing my customer and putting money in my pocket, as important as it is. I do mail in. So, either show up or mail in.
I agree. And there's this whole controversy about the mail-in. The Democrats want it, the Republicans don't. I have no problem with mail-in when it's done right. Actually, I don't agree with much of what the state of Oregon does, but they do mail-in ballots here fine. They've been doing them for decades, I think, and it's a pretty good system. But these new states that said, look, we're going to send everybody a ballot in the mail. Why would you do that? That's insane. Just the cost of it alone is stupid. Most people will just go to the polls and vote. So if somebody wants a mail-in ballot, let them ask for it. That's really and then we could go through all kinds of other problems, but I'm fine with mail-in. If it's done right, I don't think it's a problem. But more to your point, let's say in our mind, we're wondering if there's any, cheating going on in the voting process. There clearly could be. I don't have any proof of it, but it certainly seems there's a lot of shaky stuff going on. If we think that, one of the best ways to combat it is more people vote. Imagine if voting went up 20 or 30%, it would be much harder for them to cheat then. Much harder. So I know people are thinking, well, the whole process is corrupt. Why bother voting? No, it's the opposite. The more people that get involved and the more people that vote, the better chance we have of fixing the corruption.
Yeah. And, and who's to say that they can't corrupt in-person voting?
Of course, right. And that's not foolproof.
Yeah, and like you were saying with the, traditionally with the whole, all the Democrats are scared of the COVID. More of your mail-in ballots are going to be Democratic. So honestly, I think we ought to get all the Republicans to mail in their ballots.
So there you go.
It'll upset the numbers so much it could expose some fraud.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Let's flood the system, and if you want to flood it with mail-ins in your state, and you can, go ahead.
Yeah. So.
One thing I'm excited about the election this year. I may have a chance to actually have my vote count here in Oregon. We are really close to electing a Republican governor this time, I think. The CEO of Nike's founded here in Portland, he just came out and committed huge amounts of money to her campaign.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a really tight race.
Good deal. Yeah, I can't believe what's going on here, but you talked about that. But
yeah,
well, not here, but
right
back in Pennsylvania. But yeah, well, I'm glad you're sleeping better. I didn't set an alarm this morning and woke up after 9, and now I'm breaking the company speed limit here to get to my next stop. But
well, it was interesting. My sleep is I'm gonna at some point here in the next month or two, I'm going to start posting all of my results. So like stats, like, blood pressure, blood sugar, sleep, stress, all that stuff. I'll start posting it so you can see, the results of the protocol and now the adaptogens being a part of the protocol. So we'll track that. But I had an interesting night last night. Even though I had a good night of sleep, didn't get up much better than I've been sleeping. I did wake up around I think it was around 12:45, and I went downstairs to get something to drink. And as I'm opening the refrigerator, I hear the alarm countdown from my alarm system. Well, the only way that can happen is somebody's in the house, and there are no sensors in the kitchen. You can set things up so at night, it's set, but you can still walk around in the house without setting it off. Certain parts of the house. Kitchen's one of them. So when that thing goes off, when it starts counting down, somebody's in the house. So at 12:45, half asleep, I hear that thing, and I'm thinking, which gun am I closest to? And then I thought, wait a minute, they're already in the house. So ran back up to the stairs to the bed. Turns out, yesterday I forgot one of my sensors fell off the wall in another room. And I thought, well, I got to go put it back up. But I took it in the kitchen and set it on the counter and forgot about it. So then when I set the alarm last night, now the kitchen is armed. So it was kind of funny. But and actually, the interesting thing was, after all that, I got right back to sleep.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So little excitement.
Yeah.
Or stupidity. I'm not sure which
Well, had the paper file this year because apparently I've been compromised. So I guess it's safer to write down all of my Social Security numbers on a piece of paper and send it through the mail. So I had to have the wife forge my signature and drop those in the mail today. So mine are done, Kevin.
Well, you beat me then. Mine are done. They're not mailed yet. Technically, they're not done. I think I have to. I think I have a couple more things I need to check with my accountant on today and give them, and then we'll get them in the mail. It was paid back in April. We'll more than I think we already know we have a refund, so it'll just get rolled over anyway.
Oh, there you go.
Now, the only reason I have a refund, just in case anybody's wondering, is because I almost always overpay and then just let it roll over to the next year. I have to pay all the time anyway, so I pay quarterly. I just pay enough so that I don't have to worry about it.
Well, see, that's good. See, I should do that. I mean, I was able to do that this year because of depreciation, but if you pay ahead, as much as we don't like to give the government free loans, it gives you more of a pass if you're late.
Yeah, it really does, and it's I don't want to get hit with a big surprise somewhere. When I used to do our tax work, I didn't have to worry about any of that because I was on top of it the whole year. I knew exactly what was going on. Once our tax returns got too complicated for me to spend that much time on, and we gave it to the accountant, now most of the year I have no idea where we are. I know where we are financially, but not tax-wise because I don't look at it. So it's better just to stay, and I try to stay roughly about $10,000 ahead, which I won't do that probably going forward anymore. The reason I did it, $10,000 in today's world wouldn't earn you $100 in interest for the whole year. Who cares? But that's about to change. So the government may not get that extra $10,000 anymore. That may start going into I-bonds and CDs instead.
There you go. Well, good segue. On Thursday, I guess we talked. And I did buy Unshakable. I got it on Kindle since I was home instead of on Audible.
Oh, good.
I sort of speed skimmed, and I did read through the meat of a couple of the chapters, but I was just, I was ready to push those buttons,
right,
and just do it, and I I was in that ready, fire, aim mode, and doing anything is going to be better than letting two
absolutely, yeah. No, you're right.
401ks
Yep.
that I haven't put any money into in 7 years. And so I did open a Vanguard account, which apparently takes a couple days. It's not really open yet. And I guess if I had a larger, more diverse portfolio, I could see, you're somewhat limited in the funds. Basically, you open a Vanguard account, you're just going to have Vanguard funds,
Right.
and they're going to be just mutual funds, no kind of outside of the box investments.
Well, I'm not really looking for outside of the box. I want the plain vanilla old index funds. The most basic, simple, plain investment of all, really. It's just human beings don't even decide on it for the most part. We know what it is. We know what it does. It doesn't change. So I like Vanguard. I like Vanguard quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just patiently waiting for that account to be fully open so I can
There you go. Good.
start rolling stuff over and start putting some money in. But,
Yeah.
on the 6x2s, you guys were talking to Danny on Friday, and Joel got really geeky with tractive effort and calculations, and I get all that. Well, I don't get it, but I get that he gets it. I know Danny's pretty handy, and I think he does a lot of power only, a lot of empty trailers. I think it'd be worth him doing, and I'm with you. Definitely don't do a front driver with the tag, but if he does extend the drive shaft to the rear axle, put a lift axle in, and then if you have a suspension pressure gauge on the drive axle and know what pressure 20,000 pounds is going to be, and you can put a control in for the lift axle like a tri-axle dump truck would have,
Right.
with a manual valve like Joel had mentioned. And you just put enough pressure in that lift axle when you need it to keep that drive legal. And it's fairly simple. And if you need more traction and you're not worried about being legal, or it's just a brief time, you don't want to overload your axle and start busting stuff, but you can just pick it up,
Right. Yeah, Matt actually sent me a text and said, have Danny call him and he'll explain the whole valve thing you kind of just did. I mean, he'll certainly go into more detail, but yeah, it's another one of those things. It would never work at a fleet level, but for an owner-operator, it's a pretty big improvement.
Yeah, and of course, I'm always... me, I'm always promoting it. I've never done it myself, but that's why I'm promoting it. I'm trying to get a confirmation bias going.
There you go.
One day I'll do it.
That's right.
So, but yeah, that's all I got, I guess.
Got it. All right. Good stuff. We'll talk to you again soon. Boy, the calls are piling up, so we're going to roll into them here. Let's go to Missouri. Wojtek, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Well, I finally, after about 20 years of getting around to it, listened to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I remember one of my professors in college 20-something years ago saying I should read that book. I said, okay, cool. I read the back.
I read it 20-some years ago.
What do you mean house is not an asset? Right. And I'm like, what do you mean how my house is not an asset? This guy's full of it. He's a millionaire because he wants to buy a book from a sucker and read it, right? I was like, come on. Of course, a house is my biggest asset, but I finally did listen to it, and now it makes sense in my head.
Okay, so before you go too far...
I'm assuming Go ahead.
Were you about to say you're assuming I'm a fan?
Right, of his philosophy.
Not even close. Not even close.
That's why I'm calling, because
Yep.
I have some issues. Some of his
Here's the
methodology is very counterintuitive, but I can see how it can work.
I can too, and I'm not going to say everything he says is wrong. It's not. There's some good stuff in there that I agree with. I absolutely loved the idea of the book. The whole idea of, I had one dad who didn't know anything about money, and I had a stepdad, or whichever, it was the stepdad, that was a financial genius,
dad
basically.
Or something,
Yeah. So I've talked about that. Clearly the government indoctrination systems, otherwise known as our schools, they're never going to teach this stuff, ever. I tried a long time ago. Other people have tried. They're never going to do it. Where else are we going to learn? As kids, we're going to learn from our parents. But what if our parents don't know? And most don't. So I did like that idea
and most don't care.
Right. I love that idea of how he wrote the book. There are plenty of things in there I do agree with. I don't agree with your house is not an asset. I just don't. And that's semantics anyway. It's vocabulary mostly.
Right.
Something about the guy, there's some strategies in there I absolutely disagree with. Something about the guy I just don't like. I still don't to this day. One of the problems is the way he hypes gold and silver.
Well, I think that's maybe part of that has to do with the generation he came from.
No, it doesn't.
My
I don't care. I don't care what generation you came from. No, I don't care what generation you came from. You should understand investments, and you shouldn't be beholden to one because you're comfortable with it. Or he actually makes the state. He does a big commercial on this, hyping gold and silver. He makes a statement in there that drives me insane. You know what he says? He says, I love gold and... No, I think it's just silver right now. I love silver because it's cheap. What? So are penny stocks. What does cheap have to do with anything when you're investing? Cheap should not be a consideration.
Yes, but maybe for the value he sees in it versus what it could.
But look, historically, there is no value. There are value at times, but it's one of the most volatile investments around. And you should stay away from investments. They make a big deal. Oh, silver's in such demand for electronics and all that. Yeah, that means it's going to be wildly volatile. I don't want investments like that for individual investors who aren't professionals. And most professionals have almost no metals, precious metals in their portfolios. They really don't. And to me, he's nothing but a whore to go on the air and make claims like that about silver. I love silver because it's cheap. Well, that's an ignorant statement. Tell me why you really love silver, because being cheap
he makes money off of it.
Should never be part of an investment strategy. It has nothing to do with anything. Warren, one share of Warren Buffett's stock, Berkshire Hathaway, I don't even know anymore. What's it worth? Like $300,000? One share. It might not be that, but it's some crazy number. I know it's got to be north of 100,000. It was that years ago. So are we saying?
But what's that stock going to do? But what's that stock going to do when Buffett passes away? Silver is still going to be here, and silver will still have.
Yeah, but hold on.
Value around the world.
Hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back to when Berkshire Hathaway started, or when they, started to grow and we could go buy their shares. Go back and buy silver then, and go back and buy Berkshire Hathaway then, and watch what happens. And if he dies, so what? I'll sell my stock if I'm worried about it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like he does. I don't know. I mean, there's a couple things I didn't agree in the book. I think somewhere as far as real estate investment, somewhere between Kiyosaki and Ramsey would be a better position to be in as far as business and commercial real estate. That's why I read the book.
Here's one of there's a difference between investing in real estate and how he talks about your home. He says your home's not an asset. Of course it is. I just don't even understand how he can say that. Of course it's an asset. But here's the other beauty of your home. Not only is it a good investment, look at all the other advantages. What do I get when I buy a mutual fund? Nothing. It just sits somewhere. It's like it doesn't even exist. I can't hold it. I can't take it out and play with it. I can't do anything with it. So, and that's okay. It's an investment. But my house could be both. I can create huge advantages in my primary home. I did. My value on this home is way up from when I bought it. And I get to live in a beautiful place. I've created spaces here that I use every day and love and enjoy. So that idea of almost trying to convince people that your house is an investment, yes, it is. And it has a ton of other advantages. Well, it's probably, without a doubt, it is the single most common investment in this country.
Right. And this is exactly why it took me 20-something years to get to this book and read it and kind of open up my mind and say, hey, let's see what this guy has to say. And I would have to agree with both points of view because it isn't liability financially as far as it's costing you money every month that you have to pay, but you also live in it, and it would be financially smarter to have more revenue coming in to cover that liability.
Hold on,
but at the same time, where else am I going to live?
Let's look at what's going on right now. And I don't know, I can give you some really, really clear examples for me right now. We're dealing with the fact that we might lose an employee. We probably have lost an employee just this morning over this issue. Because think about this. The home I bought 10 years ago? Yeah. 10 years ago cost me the same today that it did 10 years ago. Nothing's really gone up. Not in my ownership of this home. Actually, it went down because interest rates went down and I was able to refinance. So the cost has gone down. Do you know what has happened to rent here? Not only can you not find a place to live, it is through the roof. I'm actually talking to my son, helping him buy a house right now when I've said it's a horrible time to buy a house. But he's in a situation where if he doesn't, he's spending $3,000 a month on rent. And it could go up again.
Wow.
So this idea of, comparing the cost of renting versus homes has just changed dramatically. And again, if you would have known this 10 years ago, that this was coming, you certainly would have been more inclined to buy a house than to be in the rental market right now.
I'll be buying rentals.
Or there you go. You're right. Now we're talking about a whole different thing, investing into real estate. I've talked about it. It's a great investment as long as you know what you're doing. It's not for amateurs. And a lot of people get into it and lose money because they just don't know what they're doing.
And that's exactly why I read the book, because of his real estate investment experience. And I think there's, he's got smart thing to say.
I do agree with that.
Of other people, but in the book,
I do agree with that.
Mentions, in the book, he mentions another book by somebody else. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's called the 60% Advantage or Rule about investing in lean something properties. Do you know what that is?
I don't even remember that because I tend to stay away from that fringe stuff, mostly because I have
tax clean properties or something.
Right. I have my own investment strategies, and sometimes I do some weird stuff. That's how I learn, but you won't hear me talk about those things. I'm careful about that.
Well, that's a problem.
Because I think
that's another thing. That's a problem, Kevin. Because that's another point I wanted to make. I would like to see you add a show to your repertoire about not just investing, but also strategies, corporate strategies, creating corporate structures to pay less taxes. I know you talk about it all the time.
You know, here's
but like a dedicated show that's recorded that I can go back to and listen and analyze, maybe on a monthly basis, whatever, but with maybe some lawyers that know the particulars.
That we could probably do, and I like that. Let me go back to the investing and why there are things I won't talk about on the air. Now, eventually I might, but remember, these are fringe. I don't understand them well enough yet. That's why I'm either researching them or even jumping in and investing a little bit, because if you got skin in the game, you're going to learn more. So I'll put some money at risk. Here's the problem, and this may sound arrogant, but you know this, you hear it. If I come on the air and say, hey, I'm doing this, what's going to happen? Other people will go do it just because I said it. No matter how many times I say, no matter how many times I say, don't do this. Don't do this. I'm doing it as an experiment. I'm taking a big risk. If it works out, I can say that all day long. And people will still go buy things or invest in things. It's been happening for years. I really do. I'm careful about what I say.
Well, then you need to have a big disclaimer. But the advantage that you have, or we as listeners have, to have you as a resource. You are a financial planner. You know taxes, and you're on here every day. You know things about this industry, taxes, corporations, and investing that we, as truck drivers that sit behind the wheel 11 hours a day, have no idea even exists. So if you were to have a show and maybe do a book review on, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and dive into particulars, or a bunch of other books, and discuss the strategies and everything in there.
That I like. I do like that idea. To review the books about that's a really good idea. I
happen to have a couple of those every once in a while.
Yeah, no, I like that. I'm going to write that down.
And
that might be a way for me to explore those other things without sounding as much like I'm endorsing them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another idea, free tip. Put a gun in your fridge so that when this happens again, you're ready.
There you go. That's not a bad idea either. Yeah.
Somewhere on the bottom shelf. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a holster, in a padded holster somewhere, on the bottom. So you don't have any kids running around the house. So, yeah. And the company before you were talking about Obama's greatest success was called Solyndra.
Solyndra, that's what it was.
$500 million just disappeared. Just walked out the front door. Nobody knows where it went. They had a nice building in Fremont. It took investors, government grants, built a nice building in Fremont, California, right by the freeway. Solar water heaters, and all of a sudden everything's gone. Just like, hey guys, we just don't know. It just, walked out the door.
And you know what?
I didn't do it. I don't know. Frank, you know what's going on? No, nobody knows. I was out on vacation. Me too.
Exactly. And you know what? Even though that sounds like an awful lot of money, that is pennies and child's play compared to what's happening right now.
Yeah. With our money. And our money. Children's and grandchildren's money.
Billions are going to go to these tax credits for electric vehicles. And I know in people's mind, they think that the person getting the tax credit is getting a discount on the vehicle. That's not how it works. They're paying full price for the vehicle, and then you're paying them their tax credit back.
I know. I have a communist neighbor that just bought a Chinese goddamn Polestar electric car. I thought he was going to buy a Tesla. Oh, no, I'm buying because it's cheaper and it's right there, blah, blah, blah.
And he still gets the same tax credit.
Well, no, Tesla is out of tax credit, so he bought this. And then the city had to come in, upgrade his panel, which I paid for half of it. And then he gets state tax credit and a federal tax credit, full value, and I'm paying for all of it.
Yep.
and he works from home. I'm like, what the hell do you need a car for anyway, you fat fuck? You know, it's like he sits on his ass, works for the state.
Oh man.
He's already a parasite. Now yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this is going to get worse, much worse. And it's not just electric vehicles, it's not just solar, it's not just wind, it's our food. There is a huge, huge push happening right now to basically try to eliminate animal products from the entire food system. I just posted again this morning. You know how I was talking about that food scoring system a couple weeks ago where Captain Crunch scores higher than beef?
Maybe. I've been off for 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I had to go to Vegas
so
for a couple days.
We originally had the food pyramid. Then we had the My Plate thing. Now they're trying to come up with
Yeah,
with this food scoring system. So you look at the score of a food.
Another gift of the Obamas.
Yeah. So
it's another gift of Michelle Obama. Yeah, the My Plate.
This was about nutrition. So in the nutrition push they're trying to make right now, they actually claim that Fruit Loops are healthier than beef, that fake eggs fried in fake oil are healthier than real eggs fried in butter. That's a nutrition thing they're doing. So it totally demonizes all of the animal products, and it promotes all of the super processed foods. Hold on. Let's go to the next step of their plan. Now they're coming out with a rating system on food. There's nothing whatsoever to do with nutrition. Nothing. You know the only thing they're scoring it on?
Rainbow.
The environmental impact of that food. How does that food impact our environment? Now, here's an interesting thing that they did.
I'm sure Monsanto products that are applied to production of that Fruit Loop are completely excluded from the equation.
Absolutely. This has nothing to do with nutrition. Nothing. But here's what they did. They take all the impact that a certain food has on the environment, and then they create a score, except they left one giant piece of the puzzle out. They don't take into account any kind of transportation to produce that food. That's not in the equation. That's probably the biggest environmental impact most foods have.
Right.
But if you look at animal products raised properly, look at a farm like Joel Salatin's. He has such a tiny environmental impact. He ships almost nothing. He brings almost nothing into the farm.
I would say he has not even an impact, but his farm is regenerative.
Exactly.
So that
it's improving things
impact other people would have.
Yeah, he's improving things, and he has been for a couple decades. So let me give you just two examples.
Scalability is an issue, though.
Here's how. Now, look, I realize they're using animal products that are raised in our industrial system, which I am completely against too. But that's not. They don't make that point ever. You know, they don't show, well, here's the impact industrial animal products have, and here's the impact regenerative animal products have. They didn't do that. They should have, but they didn't. But let me give you two scores. Do you know what group got the absolute best score? Energy drinks and sodas. Yeah, energy drinks and sodas got a score of 0. No environmental impact at all. Do you know what got the worst?
Magically appears on the shelf.
The worst. Absolutely off the charts. In fact, when I posted the chart, I had to tell people, make sure you look very high and very right, or you're going to miss this category. It's so far off the chart you don't almost see it. It's animal products. Beef.
The ribeye
beef,
Ribeye
lamb,
steak
dairy.
and bacon and eggs.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, if what's his name, Bill Gates finds a way to make more money off of regeneratively raised beef and pork, then
we'd
it'll
be all
on
set.
top.
Yeah. The problem is there's no money in that. It's a really, really tough business to run. It's not an easy business at all.
Right.
Here's another one I saw in there. Have you ever seen all the ingredients that go into these fake meat products now?
One time I looked and the list was too long to read, and the
Exactly.
chemical compounds were impronounceable.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
And yet that's on this list.
But you know what I've noticed?
Almost
But
no.
you know what I've noticed?
Almost no environmental impact. Way down low on the list.
Right, of course, because it's just green plants, you know.
Yeah, right.
But what I've noticed that from the Walmart shelves, that those fake meat products have been going down in volume and disappearing altogether. And if you analyze the location and where they're placed and how much it's becoming more of a fringe product.
You're right.
At first, it was very prominently displayed. The length of shelf space that they were given was higher, and the more quote unquote organic meat and lamb and all that at least Walmart was carrying was shrinking for a while. Now they're going back toward the organic meat section
Good.
a little bit. I've seen that
Good.
increase, and then the Beyond Burger nonsense is starting to see less and less of it.
Yeah,
it's still
and-
there. But I think that you can gauge the customer, the public response to the product by how it's placed
You're
on
right.
the shelf and how much of it there is.
There's another indicator that they didn't catch on nearly as well as they wanted them to. All the fast food chains ran out and added stuff to their menu. Most are now starting to back off of that.
Yeah.
Some of the products have been canceled. They're just not even on the menu anymore.
That's probably a good thing. You can't fake those. Anyway, I sincerely hope you put together some kind of a show about financial planning and strategies that would be, beneficial to not paying taxes. One last thing, I promise. For years, I've been hearing that Puerto Rico pays no federal taxes. Is that true?
That's something I should know, and I have no clue. Never even thought about it. Never heard it. Didn't even know it was an issue.
And I don't know if it's just capital gains taxes or because I know a lot of rich people from Wall Street have some kind of Puerto Rico connection and some kind of loophole. But I want to know how the corporate structure works so I can have a trucking company in the U.S., be a resident of Puerto Rico, and operate everything, funnel all my income offshore like the big guys do,
Yeah, here's one of the problems in trucking. It always has been. The tax has nothing to do with where you live or even where you might domicile a company. Tax is almost always based on where the economic activity happens. And it's impossible to have the economic activity of trucking happen anywhere but in the United States. So there really aren't any offshore loopholes that'll help much for your business of trucking.
But couldn't my company have to pay some hefty royalties to some other company that's offshore, and there'd be just nothing left over?
No. Look, if these strategies really worked, think about this. If, as a small business owner, I could dramatically reduce
How does
my
Apple
tax.
get away with it?
Well, Apple has like $1 trillion in the bank. So trying to compare what we can do as individuals, Apple can do almost anything they want. They could put a location in every country in the world if there was some advantage to it. There are loopholes.
But sure, but they
they can require. No, Right. But what if, in order for the loophole to even kick in, and there are lots of them like this, you need like $100 million in revenue before that thing even applies? Or the strategy to get around it is so expensive. They can afford it. Eventually
Right.
it pays off.
Sure.
Yeah, so you can't make those comparisons. Forget the big guys and what they do. Let's look at the little guys. What if and believe me, I look for this stuff all the time. If I could have saved a significant amount of money by doing something in Puerto Rico, well, first off, not only would I do it, but I'd tell every other business owner I know, and then they would tell, and pretty soon it wouldn't be a secret. If these things really work, they're not secret.
Okay. That's a very good point. So let's just create a little show, just the two of us talking. We won't tell anybody. It'll be our little secret.
There
Just
you
let
go.
me know, and I'll keep my mouth shut.
All right. We'll do that.
Okay. I'll let other people get in here.
All right. See ya.
Thanks.
Let's go to Arizona. Dave, welcome to the program.
Kevin.
What can I help you with
Hello?
today? Yep.
Hey, Kevin. So I'm calling about your courses that I bought. And I just clicked on my own authority. And I am wondering, is there anything in those courses that my sister can watch so she can learn how to kind of help me get get more familiarized with what I'm doing?
Absolutely. All of it. She should watch it from start to finish.
Okay. Because I told her just before I get her to do it, I just wanted to know.
I'll even go a
there's
step further. Let's say my plan was to build a small trucking company. Maybe a couple, maybe 5 to 10 trucks is my goal, or whatever it might be. Could be 50 trucks. Who knows? Every employee I had, every time I hired somebody, I'd put them through that course.
Okay.
I would want
Okay,
everybody
Kevin.
around me
That's
to
good.
know that stuff.
Good. I bought it, and I'm heading home with my first load today, and I'm going to go home, and she's going to watch it.
Excellent.
So-
Good. And by the way, technically you buy it and that's a one-person course. We have no problem with you sharing that login with people who help you with your business.
And hey, Kevin, about your topic this morning, I mean, I'm hearing a lot about this called the Great Reset, where it doesn't even matter anymore. They're going to do this, and they're going to change the whole world.
Hold on.
The way it works.
Hold on.
Doesn't matter.
I don't disagree, but here's what I will tell you. That thought process of it's a done deal, you can fight back all you want, it's not going to matter. Guess
Right.
who's promoting that?
That's what they want. You're right.
That's what they want you to think, and
So get out
it
and
will
vote.
work.
Yeah.
They will discourage people from voting. Most people are so disconnected and stressed about all of this that they'll listen to that and go, oh, they're right. Why bother? Bullshit. We have to do the
Right.
opposite. We have to fight back so hard we can disrupt their plans.
That's correct. And I heard that caller that called in. Yeah, we got to get more people voting. You're right. More people involved. I think the problem is like over half America is not even involved in politics or don't care about what's going on anymore.
No, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. That's a huge problem, and that's got to change. Here's the other thing. I've been asking for it forever, and maybe there's not a single Democrat that listens to me because nobody will call me and talk about this. I don't think most people who vote Democrat would agree with this if they understood what was happening.
They just think Democrats good. They're good people. That's in their mind.
That's kind of how we voted forever. And, it probably was okay for a while. Not anymore. Things have changed. This whole idea of a great reset sounds like black helicopter stuff, but there's something going on. Something really, really big. And I can't explain it for sure. I can't prove any of it. Nobody can is part of the problem, but there's something big happening, and I don't think it's going to be good for any of us. I don't care how you vote.
Well, I'll get off the air, Kevin, and I can't wait to get home and get the courses over here.
Good. Hey, here's the thing. When you start listening to that course, it's going to answer a lot of your questions, but it's actually going to generate more questions. So call me every time you have a question. While you're taking the course, have a notepad there. And when you read something, go, I'm not really sure what that means. Write it down and call me.
Oh, okay. We'll do that. I'll do that.
Hey, I just thought of something. How many other books or courses, and there's lots and lots of books and courses. Books have been big forever. Courses are a new thing. I love them. How many, though, when you buy a book or a course, how many of them can you call the author directly every day and ask questions at no charge?
Nobody believes me, Kevin. I tell my family, you can call Kevin about health. Oh, yeah, right. You're lying. You don't call him. I'm telling you, he answers the phone. He'll talk to you.
Absolutely. Every day. Me. Every day. And call as many times as you want. So,
okay, Kevin,
all you have to do is call, and I will personally teach you this course. Just call.
Yep, I'm going to watch it.
Excellent.
And, I will call.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you soon. Let's go to Virginia. Elliot, welcome to the program.
Hey, doing all right. I called a few weeks ago about what to invest in, and I opened up my Fidelity account the other day.
Okay, good.
And I was looking for the Russell 2000 on there. They don't have it on the mutual funds, but they said they had something equivalent to it. I went ahead and just put it in that. Is that still good?
I could probably go figure out what it is, but did they tell you what the name of it was?
It was. I looked it up. It said.
Is it the Wilshire 2000, maybe?
Right. No, I typed in Russell 2000 on the Fidelity website, and it came up with a.
Oh, I think I found it.
Something else 2000.
Oh, it is. It does have 2000 in the name.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not Russell 2000, and the S&P 500 was the Fidelity S&P 500,
which is fine.
I couldn't get.
It is exactly the same as the Vanguard S&P 500 and the T. Rowe Price. They're identical. That's the beauty of index funds. It doesn't matter who we buy them from; they are the exact same thing. Now, sometimes, and Fidelity is a case, they don't have the Russell 2000 as an option. But I looked up one. They have one called the Fidelity Small Cap Index Fund. That would be fine.
That's what I did. Yep,
that's the one. Yep, that's fine.
All right. And I did say, like, if you buy a stock or bond, an ETF or whatever, what is that? You got to buy the whole piece, the whole stock.
Here's one of the things I would say. When it comes to investing, do you want to be an active investor or do you want to be a passive investor? And here's the difference. And I will tell you, when it comes to the market, to the stock market, I want to be a passive investor. I don't want to.
You don't have to work too hard.
I don't want to work on the stock market. It's too much work. It's too volatile. Things change too much. So if I'm going to be a passive investor in the stock market, it means I'm going to pick a couple of index funds like I just had you do, and I'm going to put money into them every month, and that's it. I'm not going to worry about ETFs. I'm not going to worry about target date mutual funds. I'm not going to worry about the latest craze that everybody's talking about on Wall Street. That stuff comes and goes all the time. These index funds have been here forever. So for me, unless somebody comes to me and says, I want to be an active investor, and if you do, you got an awful lot of work ahead of you. And, I can answer a lot of your questions here, but it's not like I'm going to teach it to you on the air. You're going to have to go dig and do a lot of work. So if you want to do that, I could get you started in the right direction, but you might just want to decide first. Yeah, just be passive in the market. It's so much easier.
Yeah, because I noticed when I clicked on the ETF button and typed in Russell 2000, it came up. But under mutual funds,
right.
it didn't come up.
See, everything changes all of a sudden. So yeah, it's the Russell 2000, but ETFs don't trade like mutual funds. They aren't taxed like mutual funds. The fee structure isn't the same as mutual funds. Can you tell me what the fee structure of an ETF is?
No.
Then you shouldn't be investing in it.
Yeah. All right. I cleared it up.
Good.
I would just make sure that small cap was the main thing.
Yep. You got the right one.
All right. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Illinois. Brandy, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'm not taking a trip on Amtrak, but you are, and Google seems to know about that.
Hey,
and
Brandy.
I had 3 stories this morning. Yeah.
Hate to interrupt you, but before you get started, I just saw a text message. This was something I was wondering about earlier, so I want to talk about this before I forget. I said Berkshire Hathaway might be selling for $300,000 because I can remember a long time ago it blew past $100,000. Matt sent it to me. This is just an interesting stock because it's so unusual. Now, Berkshire Hathaway is the investment company that Warren Buffett owns. Warren Buffett is one of the most famous, successful investors in the world. It's all he's ever really done in his life. Never really had a job. He's basically invested in stuff and became outrageously rich doing it. So he must be good at it. So you can buy a share of his investment company. That's what you're doing when you buy a share of Berkshire Hathaway. As his investments improve, you make money. But here's the thing. Matt just sent me the price. You know what the price is today? One share. If you want one share of his stock, $418,000 and 640 more. $418,640. This might have been yesterday, I think. What's today? Oh, no, it's today. Right now, today, what's going on in the stock market today? Now I need to go look. Hold on. I looked this morning. It looked like the futures were way down. Oh, holy cow. This is the volatility in the market that scares me. When I looked at the Dow futures this morning, they were down almost 400 points down. Now they're up almost 600 points. That's 1,000-point swing in a couple hours. The reason I went and checked is because Berkshire Hathaway is up quite a bit. So Berkshire Hathaway is up 1.42%. So if you owned one share of Berkshire Hathaway and it went up 1.42%, do you know how much money you made today? $5,880 in a couple hours this morning. Brandy?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
There you are.
I didn't know you were done or what.
Yeah.
I just listened to you.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Now, here's the thing. I don't want people to run out and mortgage their house to buy one share of Berkshire Hathaway. Even though I don't promote individuals buying individual stocks. There's too much risk. Your $400,000 and some that you spend to buy one share today could become $300,000 in the next 6 months. That's just too much risk. I'm just pointing out that, I go back to when Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad author that I don't like, made the statement, I like silver because it's cheap. What an ignorant statement. I like Berkshire Hathaway because it's outrageously expensive. That would be an ignorant statement too. It has nothing to do with the investment. The price of investments have almost nothing to do whether they're good investments or not. All right, go ahead. I just had to interrupt you there because I was pretty shocked by that number.
That's totally fine. So there was a trip from Detroit to Chicago that normally takes 5 hours on Amtrak. It took 19 hours. A lot of these people basically got off the train and took an Uber. One of the things why I'm even interested in it, to tell you about it. As I started, I've got 3 individual stories about Amtrak, and I'm not even taking a trip, but you are, and evidently Google's listening. And there was a trip, a woman that was taking it, I think from Portland to Sacramento, 16 hours, and she kept saying, I wish I had got the elite package or something that it had the bathroom in it, because you have to share the bathroom with other people on the train. But the first story had something that when they were sitting on the track, there was no electrical power, so they were told they're not allowed to use the toilet. I remember my trips were like some of them similar to that, but not nearly as extreme. And I just simply bring it to your attention to say, have you thought of everything?
What do you mean, having a bathroom or the electricity or the train stopping or?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah.
Well, as far as the bathroom,
I mean,
as crazy as it might sound when you hear the price, I always get the room with the bathroom. And it's a tiny bathroom. It has a shower, but you literally straddle the toilet to take a shower.
Right.
So, but it's nice to have the bathroom in the room and a shower and all that. But the price is insane. Now, when I compare it to what I might do, like I just did on the long trip that I took, trains wouldn't have worked there. But I spent $6,000 just in fuel on my last trip with the coach. Fuel's $5 a gallon. I'm getting 6 miles to the gallon on a good day. That was an expensive trip, but there are a ton of advantages for me. I have everything with me. I can work every day. The train for me is a little bit of a treat because I like it. It's just a really enjoyable ride for me. And it gives me 3 days right before the event. So I'm writing my, keynote right now, but I'll really do the bulk of the work on that keynote in those last 3 days. That's just how I like to prepare. Everything will be really fresh in my mind. The things I talk about will be very current. So, but just so one way from Portland to Memphis, one way with that room is $2,500.
Yeah.
Now probably
I saw was $518.
I'll probably fly back.
And there was also in this story about the percentage rates of how on time they are. A lot of these people that were going to Chicago had to cancel everything that they had planned because they were sitting on the train.
So
it's
was
just
this
the way
just,
I think? I think of
was
everything.
this just recent?
I try to. Yes.
Because I will tell you,
I came over my feet today.
When the oil fields in North Dakota were booming.
I remember. I took a trip during that time.
Yeah, the train from Portland to Chicago goes right through Williston. I mean, it goes right through oil country.
Yeah.
And the people get on and off the train. They all use the train up there quite a bit to move around. But when the oil fields were booming, you had to be really careful about that route because they had so many trains on the tracks with the oil that the commuter trains were disrupted a lot. But in the last year or two, there haven't been a lot of disruptions on this route.
I took that route because I wanted to see the scenery, but most of
It's
the scenery
beautiful.
was in the dark
Oh,
because
well,
we were sitting along the tracks waiting for oil trains.
Yeah, well, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
I
The oil
remember.
trains were a big problem for a while. That's pretty much disappeared. The scenery on that route is stunning. You go right through Glacier National Park.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that. That's why I took that route to do that. But this story is brand new from Detroit to Chicago, 19.
You know, when you leave Portland, it's actually a pretty ideal. I wish it left a little earlier in the day, and you'd have more
That
daylight.
they're saying,
In the
I
summer,
can't believe it.
in the summer, you get a ton of daylight. So you leave Portland in the daytime, and you have daytime, all the way to Glacier just about. Then the nighttime tends to be when you're more in North Dakota and some of that area where there isn't so much to see. And then the next day you kind of get into Minnesota and you're way out in the woods up there. It's really, I love the trip.
Right. Another subject, I wanted to listen to your protocol with Danielle. You said it was on, I didn't find it, and I've tried to listen on the Destination Health Day, but you said you did record it that day.
Let me check and see if we have,
Freaky Friday.
let me see if we have posted that yet. I'm going to ask on text, so I
wanted
can't type
something
and
new to
talk
listen
at the same time. Did we post the DH with Danielle yet? So I have to talk while I type. There we go. I'll ask, see what if we've posted
Okay.
that one yet.
So just like your previous caller, I am a big fan of what you have on your show, and I try to get other people to listen. I have actually
Thank you.
got a person to listen on Wednesday. You're welcome. As well about the adaptogens, and I'm more than willing to invest in another person to bring their health up. Just trying to convince them.
Excellent.
And so, I'm thinking as you were talking about the adaptogens, it's like, we have the time to listen to audiobooks, but I think I am one that I will invest in somebody, buy them the book. It's like, you got to read this, you got to have this. And then, that's my consistency,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
passion.
Right.
Basically, and sometimes that's not enough, but I am persistent. I do tend to nag. And then the last topic is I want to put catalyst in my 2002 Volkswagen Jetta. I live near Walcott, and I wanted to buy a gallon or whatever, and I wanted to see how do I get it out into my car when it says it's so that it will eat things. So I was going to buy a can and to put the bottle in, but then I was at a farm store, Bagaroo's or whatever, and I was looking at these cow injectors. Like, I wonder if I put it in here, would it eat it? So I looked on YouTube, and there was only one YouTube video and nothing that suggests how do you get it out of the container and into your car tank.
Well, I'll tell you what I use. I have a
That would be helpful.
yeah. I just have a small glass measuring cup. I pour it out of the bottle
Glass.
into the measuring glass. Yeah, glass is glass will work every time. Plastics, you have to be very careful. Some plastics it will destroy. Other plastics are fine. Well, I don't want to have to figure out what's what. So glass is simple. Metal might corrode. I don't know what it might do to metal. Glass is simple. Get a little cheap glass measuring.
I was listening to that show where I think it was the Power Hour, that container started to leak and it basically destroyed the things that were around. I think it was in a garage or something.
No, I mean, you'd have to be almost incompetent to have it destroy other stuff. What we're talking about leaking, we went through the same thing with brain octane. You try to pour oil out of something, and because of its viscosity, it clings to things. So then it tends to dribble down the side a little bit. Wipe it off.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal. If you pour it and you see it dripping down the bottle, just wipe it off. The bottles are not spontaneously leaking, I don't think. I think it's just that dribble that's coming out of the cap. Bulletproof went through probably 6 or 7 different containers before they found one that doesn't do that quite so bad. It's just a problem with oil. I mean, oil just does that.
I just wanted to protect my. If they either have it in the truck or in the car, put it in one of those like farm cans with a trash can lid on it, and that would keep the smell. And then I'd have it handy whenever I needed to fill up my tank. And then
putting the bottle in some
then
other tote or something is not a bad idea. But I wouldn't worry about the bottle like destroying everything under your bunk or something. I mean, it's not that big of an issue. It's more of an annoyance that, when you pour it, it dribbles. It's kind of annoying. So they've been working to try to find a better bottle, but you would not believe how complicated and expensive that gets.
Right. Yeah. That's all I have. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks for the call. Thanks for spreading the word. We need that. Well, sort of. I mean, we're pretty happy with our audience right now. We're going to make a push at some point to really grow it, but we do love recommendations. Phone lines are open. We're going to stay here. The calls are coming in, so if you want to jump in and join us, you can dial us up. We're going to go to Texas. Mark, welcome to the program.
Kevin, how you doing? I'm Paul's friend, the car hauler that had the dispatch service that we talked last about right after second quarter, and I got some numbers from 3 quarters this year for you.
Good.
All right. Well, so far as of the end of the third quarter, at 90,500 miles even. Revenue was $328,739.74.
Holy cow.
All miles average 3.63.
I was just trying to figure that out in my head, so thank you. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And in the bank, deposits in the bank for the month of September, $59,010.
Wow. That number's really close to what I grossed in the first year I bought a truck. Gross. I did like 70-some thousand, I think, that year, to P&D, local, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's pretty incredible.
So
go ahead.
Just staying after it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just staying after it. Building relationships with different carriers to sub-haul for, and it just. I had those people that were doing that service for me, dispatching, and of course was costing 8%, which is ridiculous. When you look at the number, what 8% of that is, and the routes I'm running now, they were like, you'll never run those routes because I'm running out of Houston, running east and west, and over into Montgomery, West Point, sometimes Georgia, and even Florida, and all that. And they're like, you'll never be able to make anything doing that. Well, I knew that if I built the relationships with the right people, I could.
Yep.
And so
excellent.
I'm doing it. And, and I mean, I got to shout out to Paul. He helped me immensely. And just staying true to that and knowing your numbers. I mean, I come back here and tell you every time I call you, if you have to know your numbers. And I talk to other people about that, about what I'm making and my numbers, some friends of mine, and they get all quiet. And I'm just like, you got to know your numbers. And, I use your app to track my fuel. I know what my fuel cost is every day. And I mean, I track my DEF usage, and I just recently had it go down, and come to find out I had a boost leak, and it's like I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, it comes back to what are the numbers, and I'll tell you the biggest difference of everything that happened to me over the last several years is in June of 2020. I woke up and said I'm not drinking anymore, and I have not drank since then, and everything got better, my productivity, and it's like I just.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Let's think about something. We talk about the numbers a lot. When Matt was on the air the other day, giving his numbers, I kind of expanded on it. I'll do the same with you. I made the statement, Matt has virtually done everything right over time. Of course he makes mistakes, but he's done a lot of right stuff. Like I'm not even sure if there's anything left for him to do in his business to make more money other than add trucks, and he doesn't want to do that. So he's great right where he is, and we can see the results. His numbers are incredible. Your numbers are incredible. You just talked about building relationships, looking at your dispatch operation and how much it was costing you. So to get to the place where you two are, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but it's all based on the numbers. You just said it. I looked, they were getting 8%. I looked at my numbers. I'm not going to do that. That was insane. There wasn't enough value there for you. You look at your fuel and you work on it. You look and say, hey, look, I started building that relationship with this guy and my revenue went up. So that's why we talk about the numbers, because the numbers are how we measure all the other stuff we have to do.
And believe me, I made mistakes like you couldn't. I mean, it's unbelievable
absolutely.
how many mistakes I made. I mean, because I didn't know who the hell you were when I started, and I found you, and then I started listening to you, and I'm like, I was scared to call because I knew I had made all these mistakes because I was listening to you, and I'm like, yep, did that, yep, did that, yep, did that too.
Well, if you listen long enough, you've probably heard me say I've made all those mistakes. That's how I learned.
Yeah, it's a tough lesson, and it's like, I mean, I'll give you an example here of something I did back in August. So I got into where I like to hike and go up these mountains. And a year ago when I broke down in Flagstaff, and I rented a car and I hiked up Mount Elbert, 14,000. Did it, wrong shoes, everything, but I made it up, made it down in Colorado.
Congratulations.
So I'm like, I'm going to do Mount Whitney. So I'm going to do Mount Whitney. So I got permits and went out to Mount Whitney and spent some time in Mammoth in August. And so I took a week off, and I started at 1 a.m. I got 6 miles in. I'm like, I can't go any further. My feet are killing me. I had a solo boots on. And come to find out, I had the wrong pants, wrong everything, or whatever. And I got 6 miles in to 10.5 miles, 12,000 feet.
Wow.
And I'm like, I got to get out of here. And it's like, shit, that's 6 miles back to the portal. And so I had to go back. And when I got off of there, it's like I posted, I was like, I knew I was going to do it, but I didn't do it. And I'm like, I'm going to go back next year. So now I've started working on what I need to do to get back to go do that next year.
Excellent.
Since then, I've lost 10 pounds, changed, got real strict on my diet and focusing on, my heart rate and things like that. And, that's just an example of like, you have a failure. It's like, well, you fail, but like, okay, now what do I need to do to succeed to be able to do this?
Exactly.
So,
yep.
And I just got back from Las Vegas. I didn't go there to go to Vegas, but I wanted to see Jimmy Buffett, but apparently he got sick and canceled everything. So I went and climbed a week ago from Saturday. I went up to the top of Humphreys Peak. I made it. And I really did came out there with little pain and all. And then I did a week ago Tuesday. Last Tuesday I went up to Zion and I went up Angels Landing, which is like you got to hold on to go up there. It's not that high, but it's very steep.
Yes.
And I did that. I got up to the top up there, and then
Uh-oh. Mark was breaking up really bad there, but now he's gone quiet. The line's still...
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Oh, now you're back.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
So I went up Angels Camp. Angels Camp, Angels Landing.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Zion might be one of the most underrated parks in the country.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is beautiful.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a permit to do that, and I hike. It's 2.5 miles to the top of Angels Landing, and I did it. And I didn't, and it's like I'm proving to myself that I can do these things. I wouldn't be able to do these things, and I wouldn't be having these success right now in business if I had not quit drinking. Because now I don't have to wake up and recover half the week. I just get up till Monday morning and go to work, or maybe I work Sunday and then just keep working. I don't know.
There you go.
So, I mean, so it is. I mean, sometimes I always ask the bookkeeper, is this real? Am I doing this? Am I a real car hauler yet? And she's like, oh yeah. But I'm like, I just, and people ask, why are you working so hard? I said, because I don't know when it's going to end. Because it could, with this administration, all this could end at any time. And it's
Absolutely.
like, I don't know. So, so I just work like the day's the last day.
Yeah, and we should keep doing that now, because there's still lots of money to be made in trucking. We actually have more freight today than we did this time last year. Freight volume is actually up right now over this time last year.
Well, I'm making it out here in my segment of the car hauling industry, and there are other people that I was talking to my insurance lady, and she was talking about how somebody said they hadn't worked in 3 weeks, and I'm like, I've worked almost every day, and it's like it's like you have to build relationships, talk to the people, become friendly with them, and it's like you visit with them, and it's like, I mean, I'll go back to this. I said this one time before. You stress this, how to win friends and influence people. Read that book every year and follow the principles, and you will make friends and you will build relationships.
I'm glad you brought that up. I haven't talked about that book in a long time. The thing's like 80 or 90 years old or something by now. Is still an incredible book.
It's old. It's Carnegie, and it's like the principles still work.
Yeah.
They work. I mean, I sent it to my kids a while back.
Here's an interesting point. It's the spot market that has been crazy volatile for the last year. It's been all over the place and mostly not good. It's no coincidence that the two people who've called my show so far to say they're still killing it don't really rely on the spot market. The contract freight has been super strong. Contract freight has been awesome. Fleets are still doing just fine. It really is the stock market that's had all the volatility. Or the spot market. Did I say stock market? I meant spot market.
You said spot.
Oh,
well,
okay.
I'm doing a spot load today. Today I'm doing a spot load because there are issues with the contract freight coming out of where I am right now. But I'm going over to Louisiana to pick up a load to Fort Walton, and then I'll pick up a contract load after that. But
here's the beauty of that. If you run mostly contract freight, and once in a while you need to fill in with a spot load, it's always there, and you can do it in 30 seconds. But if you run all spot market freight, and you think you want to tap into the contract market freight, it could take you a year.
Well, I called this one company because I saw that they have a good reputation. And the first thing they asked me is like, do you have $350,000 cargo insurance? I said, I got $500,000 because of the people I named out who I haul for. Oh, and I was approved automatically because I use the insurance company that writes 90% of the car hauling insurance, and it's like you build these relationships, and it's a small segment of the trucking industry.
Yeah, it is.
And when they know that you have this insurance and that you have, I mean, the same company called me today and said, "Can you come up here and help us?" I said, "Well, I'm going here," and then we talked and visited, and I'm like. And she's like, "Well, when you get unloaded, call me and I'll tell you what we have out there." And it's like, so it's like that. And it's like I have access to load boards that you just don't have access to.
Yeah.
Like, the main load board for spot market and car hauling, Central Dispatch. Well, I have access to other people's loads that they put out there or they email it to me. It's not listed on Central Dispatch.
Right.
It's like they put me on an email list and I see what they have. And it's like, and it's like I can call and pick and choose or whatever. And so I just generally use 3 or 4 different people and just run the same region. And it's like I told Paul the other day, I said, I haven't been north I-20 except in North Carolina since before Memorial Day. I just haven't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've just been east and west. And it's like, I haven't been further west than San Antonio or Austin. And I don't plan to go any further west than that. And,
there you go.
It's just, I was told I couldn't do this, and it's like, we'll see about that. So.
That's right. That's right. Hey, I want to go back. I love all the climbing you've been doing. What a great thing physically and health wise and mental and all that other stuff. But you have seen some incredible scenery too.
Oh, I have. The High Sierras are absolutely phenomenal. I just can't wait to get to the top up there and look down on it all.
Yeah.
And I made it up to what they call trail camp, and I learned how to filter my own water and filter water along the way, and
Cool.
And I sat there and looked at all of that, and and then the only disappointing was when I got on. I mean, Mount Elbert was fantastic to get on top of that and look down out there. It's the second highest peak in America. But I did, a week ago when I did Humphreys Peak, and I got up there to the top. It was cloudy. It was 40-mile-an-hour winds, about 32 degrees, and it was cloudy.
Hey.
I mean, the clouds were running over, and they couldn't see. So
I'm going to correct you on something.
go ahead.
Second highest in the continental U.S.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's
actually,
big.
It's the highest peak. It's the highest peak between Mount Whitney and Mont Blanc in France.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a little known fact.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I
Yeah,
agree.
so
Nah.
the granddaddy of all is up in Alaska. I mean, McKinley's, 20,000, I think?
I believe so. It's like, in the 20,000
I think it's a
range.
little over 20,000, yeah. And then Rainier, the next biggest, is 14. That's not even close.
Rainier is like number 4 or 5 because
And-
it's Whitney, Elbert, Massive, and I forget, maybe Rainier or somewhere in there. It's in the top 5 in the Continental. It's in the lower 40, in 48.
Wait a minute. I'm
It's
really
contiguous.
confused now. I could have swore Rainier was number 2 in the United States. No?
No, it's Mount Elbert. It's Mount Elbert. Mount Elbert over there in Leadville, Colorado.
I've been wrong about this for about 30 years then, ever since the first time I moved out to Washington State in the Army. Why did I always think Rainier was the highest peak in the continental U.S.? Huh.
No, the highest peak is Mount Whitney,
Huh.
the
Okay.
14,505.
Yeah, that is higher
And
because
it's
Rainier's like
and
14.2 something, I think.
Yeah, and the thing about Whitney is it's like from the portal, it's like 10 and a half miles to the summit, back down.
How,
I mean,
how did I get this so
It's
wrong?
a beast. I don't know.
I don't know either. Huh. That's really weird. I've been saying that Rainier was forever. And I wouldn't have made that up. I wonder where I came up with that. Huh. No, you're right. I just looked it up.
Well,
Not that I had a feeling you were right because you're climbing them. You would know this stuff. I wonder how I've been so wrong on that.
I'm as much of a rookie as I am at trucking. I'm more of a rookie at climbing. I mean, I'm just now getting into it, and it's like it's a whole other. I mean, I want to be able to be in shape to do these and learn and I mean clearly I know I don't want to do Capitol Peak or anything like that because that's like the most dangerous one up there in Colorado, because you have to go over what's called a knife's edge to get to the summit. And but it's fascinating to be able to just hike up and walk up, and you go up there and you get up on top and you look out and you're like, there's a lot of there's a lot of lessons learned in going up there. It's like you take just like life, it's one step, and just like building your business, one step after another, one step at a time. You can't just just run up. I mean, there are people that run up these mountains and run down them. You see them all the time.
You're right.
But that's clearly not me. So.
Yeah, but what you're doing
But
is
it's,
pretty incredible.
It's a cool hobby.
Yeah,
It's
it really is.
But you're right. Zion's very underrated. There's other things I want to go back there and do.
Not just Zion itself being so underrated, the whole state of Utah. Nobody really thinks of Utah as a vacation destination. Utah is spectacular.
It's amazing. I looked at I took a picture of Bryce and posted it on Facebook, and I looked at that. I mean, my words were, I've never seen anything like this. You look down at there.
One of my favorite ATV rides is Casto Canyon. Absolutely stunning. And then go a couple hours south and you can be in coral pink sand dunes that are spectacular.
Yeah, the terrain just changes immediately. You come out of Vegas there, you go through that little section of on 15, you go through a little section of Arizona, and then you
Right.
get before the Utah border, you go through what they call the Virgin Gorge or whatever. And it's like you go through there, and it's like it just changes immediately.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you get up to St. George, and you go over to Hurricane, and then all of a sudden you're there, and it's like, oh my God, it's right here.
We were down, actually, this was a big vacation we took with Bruce and Debbie. We rented a house in South Utah, and it was right after the Las Vegas Truck Show. That's why we did it. So Lisa and I went to Utah and did a little couple of days on our own. Then we met Bruce at the truck show, and then we rented a house and, kind of explored Utah. And we, took the ATVs out. I mean, the sand dunes were so big. Bruce and I both had the biggest fuel-injected ATVs at the time, and there were sand dunes we couldn't get to the top of. I mean, you just ran out of power.
Wow.
Yeah, and you would it was like high marking on a snowmobile. You just see who could get up the highest and then turn around and you could see their mark, but you couldn't get over it. They were that big. I mean, I just who would expect that and they're pink. It's this beautiful pink sand. Who would think that's in Utah? But we saw just so many beautiful places there.
Well, before you get to Bryce, when you're coming across off of 15 and out to the back road, you come up and you go through, I believe, what it's called, Red Canyon or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything's red. The rocks are red, and it's like it's just right there.
Yeah,
and then you get through that, and it's like. Go ahead.
When we left there, we were in southern Utah, pretty far south. We decided no interstates. We want to take back roads out of here. It was probably the most spectacular 12 hours of driving I've ever done. The whole 12 hours, like all day, the scenery was just stunning. Places you just don't even hear of.
Well, when you climb Humphreys Peak, and you look over the north side of the ridge over there at the top, you're supposed to be. You can see that on a regular day, clear day, you can look down into the Grand Canyon. But the clouds were covering when I was there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go back on a total. And the funny thing is, when I started that morning, it was clear at the base, go to the top, covered in clouds, 40-mile-an-hour wind, and and the Grand, just south of Zion, there is the Grand Canyon. It's right there.
I know, you're not that far away at all. You're on the north end, which most people don't ever visit the north end of the canyon because it's pretty remote. It's pretty hard to get to. The south end is
there's a big hike. There's a big hike up to the Grand Canyon called the Rim to Rim, and you can look it up on All Trails. And that's what I'm planning on doing that this spring.
I've seen that.
Boundaries Peak.
Now I've seen that Rim to Rim. That looks like it's just spectacular hiking.
Yeah. It's a couple of days, and it's a rim to rim, and then there's another. The tallest peak in Nevada is over by California. It's called Boundaries Peak, and that's another one I'm going to do before I go back to Whitney.
Good.
But and then there's Yosemite. It's right there by Whitney, just north of there. It's like, okay, I got to go there too. So.
I've been in all 50 states. I love national parks, so I've been in most of them. But the one big one, I have not been to Yosemite. I need to do that.
You should.
Yeah, I haven't been to Yosemite.
Go hike Dome with the Rock of the Dome, Dome with the Half Dome Rock.
Yeah.
Well, there's a big hike that I'll talk to people coming off the mountain. It's called the John Muir Trail. It's like 200-something miles. They start up at Yosemite and they come down and they end at the Whitney Portal.
Okay.
And it's called the John Muir Trail. It's 200-something. It takes most people like 20 days to do it.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. I rafted the Colorado through the Grand Canyon. Big raft trip. You actually spend the night in the canyon. which was just as cool as could be. Just sleeping under the stars, right on the sand under the canyon. They helicopter you in. We spent 2 days on the river through the canyon. Then you take a jet boat across Lake Mead, and then they put you on a bus back to Las Vegas. It was just a spectacular trip.
Yeah, there's so many awesome things to do.
Yeah, that one was just incredible to see that.
Yeah, I keep looking at these things. I'm like, okay, I need to do this, that. So
Yeah, and that's the thing. Almost everything I really love to do. My two big hobbies right now: gardening and wing foiling, which this week sucks for wind. Except Friday, they are predicting what they're calling a nuclear day. Like, we're supposed to have big, huge, steady west winds on Friday, so I'm looking forward to it. But I was talking earlier. Almost everything I love to do is outside. I don't want to destroy our environment. I am a tree hugger.
No.
But we have to do it right. And we're not. Everything we're doing about the environment is not about the environment at all. It's all about money.
Speaking of tree hugging, you can get into what the grounding and how you have to, you've talked about grounding, and it's something I'm about to get into with a PEMF mat I'm buying and all that. But I was reading and I was listening to somebody, and they were talking about, well, maybe the hippies didn't have it wrong about hugging trees because you're actually grounding yourself.
Exactly. So, and they walked around barefoot most of the time, right?
And there you go. Exactly.
Look, really, if we think about it, and growing up, I'm the youngest of 7. Several of my brothers went through the whole hippie phase. Almost all of them did. I grew up with that. I was just a little late. I was pretty much on the tail end of it, but I watched most of my family go through that. When you look back, as weird as it seemed at the time, they were on the right track for a lot of things. Food, they were much more into organic and real food, and and we called them weird, and we called them tree huggers, and it was kind of a weird movement. But God, I look back now and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of a modern day hippie. Hell,
I'm going to segue into one other.
I'm growing weed. How much more of a hippie could I be in my bare feet?
There you go. Well, okay, so in 1973, I've been listening to a couple of Gary Brecka podcasts and interviews with him. So in 1973, the government started mandating that grain had to be fortified. So they sprayed it they spray all grains with folic acid. Well, 44% of the people have that, the MTHR gene or whatever. Right. They can't methylate properly.
Exactly.
So they get loaded up on folic acid, and that's where 44% of the population with all the mental illness and ADHD and all that, it all started back then.
Yeah.
But nobody gets diagnosed for that. They just start throwing drugs at them.
There are so many problems with grains. They have almost no nutrition, so poor that we have to fortify them. We have to put artificial nutrition into grains. That fortified sounds good, doesn't it?
44% of the people.
Fortified sucks.
Yeah, it does. 44% of the people can't process that, so it just builds up as toxicity into the body.
Yeah, and nobody even talks about that. Then there's gluten and gliadin and all the proteins in there that'll screw us up. Then they're high in carbs. Why would anybody want to eat that stuff? And yet, when you say you shouldn't eat grains, people will look at you like you have 3 heads.
Oh, yeah. Well, you were talking about the fake meat and everything. The next big thing is what they're pushing over in Europe right now. It'll be over here, and there probably already is pushing eating bugs, cricket powder, and things like that. That's the next thing.
I probably have a different take on this than most people. I would much rather see a push towards eating insects than what they're pushing us to eat. Insects are real food. We may not think of it as food. True. We probably don't like it. I've eaten crickets. Crickets are really tasty. Crickets are a really good snack food. You can almost treat them like potato chips. You can put different flavorings on them, and they're crunchy.
Are they chocolate covered?
You could do them like that. Exactly, yeah. No, mine were just, you could see it was a cricket. It wasn't covered with anything. It was
Yeah.
it was a cricket, but it had a little seasoning on it and some salt and some flavoring. They were really good. So I'm not really against that whole push towards eating insects.
That might come to that, rather than eat all this fake manufactured. Well, now the thing over the weekend, I saw 3D meat.
Yeah, absolutely.
3D printed
Hands
meat.
down,
What the
I
hell?
will be eating insects long before I ever touch any of that crap they make in a factory or a lab.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt.
at least it's natural.
Here's the thing. Even we're so freaked out about crickets, but we're also freaked out about eating something like a camel, right?
Yeah.
Why? What's the difference between a camel and a cow? If you grew up eating camel, you'd think, oh, look, those weird people eat cows. So what? They're animals. We can
I
eat
guess.
any animal on the
Yeah.
planet. We can eat everything that's alive. Now, there are some things that you have to be careful of, but we can basically eat any animal, and we should be. We should be eating animals of any kind, including insects, before we eat all this processed fake crap.
I agree. I mean, I've eaten squirrel. Being originally from Louisiana, I've eaten squirrel, cooked squirrel, killed squirrels. It's like, what's the difference between a squirrel and a rat? Furry tail?
Almost nothing. Right. They're both rodents.
No,
You're right. And a squirrel was the first thing I ever shot and killed and ate myself. And I love squirrel.
Yeah. 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 Squirrels, rabbits. I mean, we
Yeah, I've eaten all the weird foods. I've told the story on my 50th birthday. We did an exotic animal burger bar. We had llama and camel and emu and goat and antelope, and I think we had 10 or 12. We had all kinds of crazy animals. You know what? They all tasted about the same.
Yeah, you can go to You can go to any Indian restaurant and get goat curry.
I am shocked that we don't eat more goat in this country. I love goat. It's really good.
People the people in Texas and Louisiana eat goat.
Yeah, more so than the rest of the country, yeah. But we just don't eat a lot of goat in this country. I think goat is really good. And again, many of these other animals that we can eat have a much smaller environmental impact than cattle.
Yeah. Nobody eats as much lamb as Paul. That's what he eats every day.
Well, all the good lamb comes from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're raised on it. I mean, I like lamb.
I love lamb.
So,
Lamb's one of my favorites. Lamb and duck.
Yeah. Oh, I love a duck.
Oh, yeah.
Best duck I ever ate was in Monaco.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
You know, the difference, lamb and duck have tons of flavor. Our beef today, our industrial raised beef, is flavorless. That's why people love it. We have created such a mild, weak palate in Americans. We eat white bread and American cheese and tasteless beef.
People look at me funny when I tell them that I order something and I say, "Don't put any bread, no potatoes, no bread, no this, no that. Give me an extra egg, will you please?"
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want any potatoes? No, I really don't.
Yeah, put an egg on it though. I put an egg on just about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 2 eggs. Give me an extra egg, and you keep all your bread,
Exactly.
your pancakes, and all that. I don't eat that.
Right.
I just don't.
Nope. All right, Mark. Good stuff. Hey, call me and tell me more about these expeditions. I love that. I got to move along. Calls are piling up. We're going to go to Oklahoma. Joe, welcome to the program.
I'll be right back. Everybody. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
You got a wind problem. Moved to Oklahoma.
Well, here's the thing. So I moved here to where I live right now because after being in all 50 states and thinking about, the way I work, I can work from anywhere. So where do I want to live? After traveling around, I fell in love with the Pacific Northwest. I was stationed here in the Army. And then when I found the gorge, the Columbia River Gorge, I said, this is home. Absolutely love it here. If I had to pick one downside to living in the gorge, it is the wind. We have wind constantly, and doing things outside when it's really windy it's just more difficult. Now, there are some advantages. We have no mosquitoes. It's way too windy for mosquitoes here.
Oh, no kidding.
Nah, we don't have screens on our windows or doors.
Man, we got those.
We have French doors on our bedroom. They are wide open all summer, all day, all night. No screens. They're just wide open. We don't have any bugs to it. Right now, we get a few flies for about a month or so because we don't have a lot of wind right now. That's why I can't go out and wing foil because most of our days are pretty calm. So we do tend to get flies a little bit. Kind of annoying, but they'll be gone here soon. So I figured, all right, if there's this one thing that bothers me about living here and it's the wind, why don't I take up a wind sport and then I'll look forward to the wind? So now I'm sitting here saying, damn, why is it so calm? When's the wind going to come?
Well, there's a saying in Oklahoma, if the wind stops blowing, look around.
Yeah.
Because there's trouble.
Yeah, good point. There's
trouble.
Yeah, there's a reason kiteboarding was invented right here. Because we have this crazy constant wind all the time.
The reason I called you is because my friends called me up with their illnesses.
Okay.
And what I do is I don't do the Pringle. I don't do all that kind of stuff. On your website, all the people who do all these really fancy stuff, all I do is make a dot. That's it. Just a dot. Like I ate asparagus, dot. I'm not saying anything fancy. I mean, it's just, there it is,
Yeah.
I ate black beans,
dot.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, just nothing fancy, So I'll send people my spreadsheets, and these people are in pain. They're walking on marbles or thyroidism or whatever. This is serious. I mean, they're calling me up with their problems. Some of them are in tears. They're my relatives and friends and stuff like that. And every time I ask them, I say, "You want to see my spreadsheets?" Because they all see me healthy. I'm 64. To Dr. Friday, he goes, "I haven't seen a doctor in years, but I had to go in there because I have hypercalcemia. I have a hereditary trait for that, so I'm going to go get tested for it." And
hold on, I want to make sure I'm hearing the right thing. You have an excess calcium in your body. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, apparently, I have a genetic disposition for hypercalcemia, so I have to go get this blood test. And I tried to go to the doctor, and he said, I'm not going to do that because all those blood tests that you sent me, if I did that, it'd be fraud. So I have to go to the LabCorp and do it myself, which is fine. I have insurance; it's not a big deal. But anyway, he wanted to know how I made it to 64 in this health. And I'm a truck driver. I mean, I am not the healthiest guy in the world, but I called you because I don't know. Maybe I'm approaching this wrong. Maybe I'm doing something wrong with my friends when I send them these health charts, because every time they get mad.
So you've touched on a good topic. We've talked about it before. Of all the things I do with health, the single most difficult thing about all of this is not being able to help everybody. You just want to help everybody. They're in pain, they're suffering, and you can help them. You can make their life better. And it's so frustrating because you can't unless they want it. That's the whole thing. This isn't in your control. That's what's so frustrating about this. So all you can do is try to be the best example you can. And when somebody does ask for advice, you just try. It doesn't always work. I struggle with it.
Well, I mean, I've seen all the posts of you got the circular guidelines, the charts and all that stuff people are posting. I don't know where you're at on the web now. I still go to Let's Truck, but I don't see that many of those guidelines of, how many calories and all the rest of that stuff. I'm not going to do all that stuff. That's a pain in the butt. I want more of a lifestyle.
We don't even talk about
instead of running gauges.
We don't even talk about calories.
No, what I'm saying is there's all these programs where you enter in how many calories, how many proteins, or whatever it is. So I'm not really interested in that. I'm really looking for a lifestyle change, and that's all I'm trying to promote.
Yeah, so, I do all kinds of crazy testing and measuring and wearing all kinds of device and poking myself over and over and tracking all this because I want to prove that it works. And I want to make sure I know what really works. But ultimately, I tell people, don't do any of this stuff. Look, we can tell you how to eat right. And if you eat right, all of those numbers will improve. I promise you. You don't even have to go check them. I know they'll improve. We should just not be so freaked out about food. We shouldn't be measuring all this stuff all the time. Unfortunately, right now, some of us have to so we can prove this and show it with numbers. But ultimately, I really just want people to enjoy food and enjoy good health and get out and be active. Don't spend 2 hours a day trying to figure out if your health is right or not. I mean, in the beginning, we have to. We've destroyed our health so bad. We have so many issues. We have to get back to being right. But, for the most part, other than all the testing I do and all that stuff, I don't think about food. I know what I eat now. It's just not a big deal. My diet's pretty basic. It's really good. I enjoy my diet, but it's pretty basic. I don't have to think about it. I know what I'm going to be eating.
Well, I mean, I've gone over the whole thing, cup your hand, don't go over the cup of anything except for meat. I mean, I go on and on and on about, well, in other words, if you're eating green beans, cup your hand and only eat what fills up the center.
I don't even like that.
Anything more than that's just a waste of your time. I don't remember who said that, but somebody said that a long time ago. So I just
certainly wasn't me.
Half a can of. I just eat half a can of beans. And so I don't sit there and measure it out. I just say, you know what? I'll just eat half a can of beans.
Yeah,
stuff like that. I just generalize it out. I say I don't do any measurement or anything that. I just do real generalities.
I'll take it back. I guess I do a little bit of this because I have identified that oxalates and myself don't get along. Oxalates are a problem for me. I know they are. So I do have to watch what I was just going to say, I tell people to eat when you're hungry and you should be eating food that you don't have to worry about how much of it you eat. But no, that's not true. I eat white rice and you really, really have to watch how much white rice you eat. And I have to watch how many oxalates I eat. So yeah, that's true.
Well, I feel so sorry for these people, and I don't know if there's I thought maybe you could lean me into a maybe more of a political or like a politician eases you into a conversation.
I wish I could. I wish I could come up with a better way to help other people help other people. The advantage I have is I get on the air and I blab for 3 hours a day. And, every once in a while somebody stops and listens. But when it comes to my personal life, I meet people, they find out what I do and they want health advice. But honestly, they really don't want health advice. The minute I start talking, their eyes roll back in their head. They don't want to hear this stuff. They want some easy, quick fix.
Yeah, candy bar or protein bar.
Yeah, they want to know that they can keep eating the way they want and just tell me that one superfood I can add to my crappy diet to fix it all. That's what they want. And when I tell them, no, this will be a radical change in the way you eat. And I do the opposite. You just asked, how can I kind of ease them into it? I take the opposite approach because I don't want to waste a lot of time with a lot of people. Let's think about this. If we kind of try to ease them into it, make it, sound not quite so scary or it's not a big change, then at some point they find out it is a big change and they bail. Well, I just wasted all my time with that person. So when somebody asks me, the first thing I tell them is, are you ready to make radical changes in the way you eat? I do the opposite. I try to scare them right from the beginning. This is not complicated. It's not complicated, I tell them. Well, it's really simple, but this is going to be a radical change in the way you eat. And if you're not ready to consider that, then you don't want to talk to me because I have nothing else for you.
That should be easy for me because I'm the son of a lawyer, and bluntness comes very easily.
I will tell you, you will scare more people away this way. You will. But that's my point. I don't want to waste weeks with you and then find out you're not willing to make that change. I want to know right now, are you willing to do things that you will probably consider really drastic? And if you're not, then you should find somebody else to go work with.
All right, I'm going to try that. On a side note here, on this hypercalcemia, this guy told me
hypercalcemia.
This guy said unless I had that disease, he wouldn't do those blood tests. What the hell is that all about?
Well, this is a traditional doctor, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't.
What he's saying. What he's saying is he'll get in trouble. He got charged with fraud. What he told me, he said, unless you have that disease, I can't test for it.
No, I know.
That's a quote.
So my point
That's a quote.
The traditional medical system. No, I believe it. He's correct. That's true. The traditional medical system controls what the doctors are allowed to do. They are at risk of losing their license if they don't tell you are supposed to, if they don't prescribe a statin to you. If your cholesterol numbers are out of the range of the American Medical Association and the doctor does not prescribe a statin, he can be charged. Doctors have very little freedom anymore to do what they think is right. They just have to do what the system tells them to do. That's why we only recommend functional medicine doctors. They have the freedom.
Just following the trail.
Now, those doctors are also at risk of losing their license, but they don't care much.
Well, I've given Michael's name out to a bunch of people. I don't know if anybody's ever called, but.
Well, good. We appreciate that. But again, all we can do, the best we can do, and somebody has other ideas I'd like to know too. We can be a good example, and then we can try to do the best we can when somebody wants the help.
I even write the name down and push it in front of them.
Good.
Because obviously I lost. It's obvious as hell I lost. Let's see. Yep. Here, let this guy try.
Yeah. Now
because I lost. I mean, it's obviously I lost.
Yeah. No, it's we talk about it all the time. I'm going to cut you loose and move on. This is one of the most difficult parts of this. Everybody feels that frustration. As human beings, unless there's something wrong with our brain, we want to help other people. That's how human beings are wired. That's why we evolved in tribes. We are wired to help other people because that helps us. When we help the people around us be stronger, then our tribe is stronger. There's a huge advantage for us to do that. That's why this drive to help people when we learn this is so strong. We see how powerful the change was for us. And we immediately want to help the people around us. We're wired that way. We all are. Unless we have a mental defect, we're all wired that way. And it's frustrating because when it comes to food, there couldn't be a more complicated issue today that I can think of. Food is all over the board. And unfortunately, the people pushing veganism are the ones that have all the money somehow. They have lots and lots and lots of money to promote these, ways of eating that really aren't healthy at all. Human beings are not vegans. We never have been. We never should be. We are meat eaters. We are carnivores. I know we're omnivores, but I believe we're mostly carnivore. And to be a vegan is just a horrible idea. but it's being promoted heavily with a lot of money. Let's go to Illinois. Patrick, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin. How are you today?
Good. What's on your mind?
I had a response to the lady that called in about the catalyst and wanted to know how to put it in her tank. On Pittsburgh Power site, they sell this small little dosing bottle.
Oh, good.
It's a lot like what you'd use for oil for a two-stroke or something.
Yeah.
Like for your weed eater. I'm a Sprinter and ProMaster driver. So
Okay.
I carry it with me. It holds about 16 ounces, and you can squeeze the little bottle to get either a half ounce or a 1 ounce dose that you can pour into the tank.
Oh, perfect.
And that would save you from having to carry the whole gallon around with the possibility of spilling it or any of that. It makes this dosing really easy.
No, good idea. Thank you. And I'm
So
sure
when I heard her, I said,
I'm sure they've talked about that at
Yeah.
some point on the air. I just didn't remember it.
you had to look a little closer on their site to find it. I don't know if they promote it real heavy,
Okay.
but I bought a couple of them so I can put one in each of my vans
Good.
and always have some with me.
There you go.
So, and on a second note, I want to thank you for promoting all of the healthy. Last Friday, I got down to 197, and that's the first time under 200 in probably 30 years.
Wow. Congratulations. That's incredible.
Oh, I had been stalled for so long. I started at 265, and I had been stalled forever. And finally broke under the 200. I'm just jumping up with joy over that.
I was going to say that has to be an amazing feeling.
It is. That was a goal I was really excited about breaking, was getting under 200.
Excellent. I love that.
All right. Well, that's all I've got today. So
All right.
have a great day.
That's all I need. Thanks for the call. Let's head off to Montana. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call.
What's on your mind today?
Hey, I wanted to call in. Well, I wanted to call in last week. You had my boss on the radio on Wednesday. You had David from Azure on there.
Oh.
I went to work. I called them the first time you had him on the radio, I heard, and I called it. And anyways, so now I'm here working.
Well, fantastic.
It's an interesting place to
How
work.
do you like it?
I love it and I hate it, to be honest with you. But you're out. Sometimes you're off the beaten path. So,
oh yeah,
you gotta. I used to running up and down the road and being able to stop at a truck stop and get a shower or whatever.
Yeah,
had to find some wipes, that kind of things. But
it's
pretty good.
I'm
being plenty active, that's for sure.
Yeah, that actually sounds good to me. I cut my teeth on stuff like that. I did P&D work out in a really rural area. Some of those places where you end up driving over 6,000-pound bridges just because there's no other option. You got on that road and there's no way you're going to back up 6 miles to get out of there. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got started, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah. But I wanted to give you a recipe for a carnivore candy bar.
Okay.
Well, it's pretty simple. You go to the grocery store or wherever you want to go get it at. Get you a pound of bacon, fry it up, put it in the refrigerator, and then when you're driving down the road, you stop, you want a snack, wrap it in cheese, and there's your candy bar.
Oh yeah, I like that. It's pretty common for me. Just wake up in the morning and throw a pound of bacon in the oven, and then just snack on it all day. I never thought about wrapping a piece of cheese around bacon, though. Why didn't I think of that? That sounds really good.
Yeah, cheese. I'd have cheese almost. Well, not with everything, but I like cheese.
You know what I love about cold bacon?
What's that?
You get even more fat in every bite.
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because when
Yeah,
it's cold,
yeah.
the fat just
So,
clings
yeah.
to it. Yeah, you get a nice big bite of fat
Yeah.
in every bite. So let's add a little more fat to it. Let's wrap some cheese
Yeah.
around it. I love that.
Yeah, there you go. There
Yeah.
you go. Yep. So, and that's something I did crazy a few weeks ago. I was home. Went out and I've been with Azure about 90 days now, but I went home. Went home and took a couple weeks off, and my one son, he races motocross, and he was racing in the old timers class over in Boise, and or an old timers race. And I went there Saturday, and then the next day his race. And well, one of his friends on Saturday says, "I'm not going to race tomorrow. You can race my bike." So Sunday I went and ran his class, which was the 40 novice. And I'm 62, and I went out and ran my first motocross race in like 1980.
What were you?
And I
what are
came
you
in
riding?
dead last both.
What are you riding?
I was riding the 250 4-stroke KTM.
Oh, really?
Don't ask me exactly which model.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
okay. It
but-
formerly known as Penton. That's how far back I go in motocross.
Were they Penton?
They were Penton.
Well, that's I mean, Osa, Pook.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. The
Yeah,
Italian
right.
the Italian
Yeah.
bikes were big back then. Yeah, and then the Japanese took over everything. But Husqvarna was big.
Yeah.
The European, almost all
Yeah.
the motorcycles back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, almost all the motocross bikes were European.
Yeah, they were. And then when Honda came out with the CR,
oh yeah,
they just kind of the Japanese just dominated. But now it's kind of switched back. I mean,
yeah, and then
you've got Husqvarna
Suzuki
back,
came out with when they first brought out the RM to replace the TM. The RM was probably closer to the factory bikes than anybody else was selling.
Yeah.
And then everybody.
I never owned the RM, but I did have a TM. I did race a TM 125.
Almost two different motorcycles. What a huge change when they went to the RMs.
They were.
Yeah.
No, it was. It was a big change, but it was a blast. So I mean, I was dead tired, but I couldn't. I had so much fun racing.
Oh, I'll bet. I can't remember where are KTM made.
That I don't know for sure.
I don't know either.
You know, I don't know.
I can't remember where Penton came from. I'm going to look that up.
They're not Canada. No, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But
I used to know where every motorcycle was made.
Yeah. But a lot of, it's not just the three major brands anymore.
Holy cow!
There's a brand out there. There's a brand. Go ahead.
KTM is Austrian.
Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh. Okay. Huh. But no, there's the KTM also. They have another. I think they've got another brand called Gas, and they've actually got 2-strokes out.
Oh, do they really?
2-stroke models.
Wonder how they're meeting emissions.
I don't know.
That's the only reason we went to 4-strokes.
I have no idea.
Nobody would have ever went to a 4-stroke engine for motocross because 2-strokes are far superior.
Yeah,
they just are. But it was emissions.
Yeah.
So if somebody's figured out a way to make 2-strokes again, I just wonder: is anybody making an electric motocross bike yet?
I was watching. I was in my truck last night, and I flipped on YouTube, and they call it what do they call that? Straight. It's just a straight line, but it's like a drag motocross. You've got jumps, you've got whoops, but no corners.
Oh, okay.
And this was from 2019, and somebody was out there on an electric motorcycle.
Oh, really?
And I don't know how that worked because you have no clutch, you don't shift. It's all just centrifugal or whatever. I mean, he made it to the qualifiers, but
there was.
But I forget the name of it.
There was a motorcycle when I used to race. I think it was Can-Am. I think Can-Am made a motorcycle for a while. And And they used a centrifugal clutch. And one of the places I raced had this weird starting gate. You know, like most motocross, they just have the gate that falls in front of you. Do they still do that?
Yeah.
That's still the norm, right? The gate's there and it just falls in front of you.
Yeah, it just falls, yeah.
The one place that I used to race a lot had like a rubber band. Like it was this giant rubber band that stretched across the whole line. Well, part of the problem was it takes a second for that thing to get all the way to the other side. So the person on the far left already has an advantage. On the end. So what they did to try to equalize that was when you're sitting at the starting line, you were allowed to have your hand on the throttle, but your left hand had to be on your helmet. And you couldn't take it off the helmet till the sound went off. And so it took everybody, a second to get their hand down on the clutch, and it kind of equalized everything. But the guy with the centrifugal clutch could just take off with his hand on his helmet. He won the whole shot almost every race. I mean, a whole shot comes down to a second or two. And he would win the whole shot every race.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I started racing, that's how they had over in Boise. They call it Hawaii Motorcycle Club, but back then they called it Peaceful Cove. But it was the rubber band, I think it's surgical tube or something.
Something, yeah.
That they would stretch out across, yeah. And also, that weekend, speaking of hole shots, my son, he was in the 40 expert, and they ran 5 motos over the 2 days, and he got 4 hole shots out of 5.
Wow. So Aaron, Aaron just sent me over. He has a KTM XCW 300 oil injected 2-stroke.
Yeah. I think Yamaha is the only one that's making like a 250YZ, but it's old technology. But like KTM and I think Husqvarna and stuff, they're building them. They're making them with newer technology. But
yeah, I haven't really followed the bikes at all. I mean, I know a lot from way back when, but I really don't know a lot about what's going on right now with the bikes themselves.
Yeah. And the main reason I know is just from my son, because I bought him a little 50 when he was 3 years old, and he's been riding ever since. And he's 40 now.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
He's broken so many bones.
Yep.
And stuff. In fact, he's going next month. He's going down to Baja. Going into Baja again.
That's got to be incredible.
450 Honda. Yeah, he's on I can't think of the name of the team, but he's the only gringo on the team.
Is that
the rest
right?
are all Mexican nationals.
Wow.
Yeah. And he got introduced to them a couple of years ago through a friend. They needed somebody to ride, so.
Yeah,
he'll be back down there next month.
Has to be an incredible experience.
Yeah, but they have an old timer series every year, and it runs up there in Richland, Washington, and Washougal, which is just right over by Vancouver and Boise, and even up into Canada. But I'm not vaccinated, so I'm not going to Canada. So, but it's like. I think, Kevin, you ought to get a bike and
I know.
race that old timers. It was a blast. It was a blast.
I should. It
was so much fun.
Yeah.
And you don't have anything else to do.
Well,
you're not busy.
Well, I do have a new sport right now, so I'm going to focus on that. Maybe the motocross will come again next year. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, that's about all I had. But that was so much fun doing that at my age, and it's like, okay, I got to get me a bike now.
Yeah, I know. I would if I got on one time, I'm sure I'd get off of it and go buy one. I'm sure I would.
Yeah. It's just like, it was just I was dead tired and just had a gigantic grin on my face. At the end of each photo.
I'm grinning just thinking about it.
And I was slower than they took they used a calendar for my lap time, so
yeah, that would probably be me right now. Either that or I would be crashing a lot like thinking I could ride the way I used to. And, you know, not that I wouldn't be capable of it. I mean, I'm physically capable of riding just as good as I could when I was 18, but that was when I rode every single day. I mean, I rode every day when I raced. And but it would be fun. Oh, you know, another one I remembered, because I actually rode one a couple times. A friend of mine had when I was in the Army, Bull Taco. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. And I just seen a video on those. It was like I think they did a kit on it. So I guess they're still around.
They might
Maybe
be.
They started making them again. Or
yeah, if I remember right, I think they're Italian too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember for sure. But anyhow. So.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, let's get on to somebody else. But
all right. Thanks for the call. I think we're going to wrap it up today. Been a good day. Hour and a half of straight calls right from the beginning. No breaks. Lots and lots of good topics. I know I had fun. Must have been the sleep. So we will see you back here tomorrow for the Power Hour. We'll see you then. Be safe. Be profitable. Be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.